building, Pete. So the increase in costs and the uncertainty around build costs is well documented. Builders fixed price contracts, they can be a little bit different now with the old escalation clause. What does that actually mean, and how does a bank look at an escalation clause when we're applying for a loan?
Yeah, so the fixed price contracts are a lot harder to find, like a true, what a client believes a fixed price is, which is a price that won't change. And within, even if we go back and look at history of something like the master build contract, has always had an escalation clause in it. It's just never really been called on because the builders were very accurate at pricing and making sure they could deliver on that price. Currently, as you've mentioned, we really feel for them that it's such a challenging time for builders to be able to price accurately and know that the price will remain the same. And so the escalation clause is within a contract, which just means if the materials change during the course of a build, the builder can pass on that cost to the client. So when a bank reviews that fixed price contract now, some banks are actually treating them not as a fixed price contract and saying they're simply a charge up contract, which comes with higher cost overruns and a little bit more risk from a bank and a client point of view. And then there are still a few banks who are quite happy to look at that contract as well. So sometimes it just takes a little bit of an extra push for us to understand a contract in detail and be able to go back and actually negotiate with the bank to get the best outcome for a client.
Is there a higher contingency used by any of the banks, or has that percentage
100%.
remained the same?
So most banks have changed from a 10% contingency up to 15% for a fixed price contract. Some banks are actually using a 20% contingency even for a fixed price contract if it has an escalation clause. And that's the same contingency figure that you'd have on a normal self-managed build or a charge-up build. So that contingency is a sum that's set aside. So let's say 15% of the build cost is put aside, and you have to prove you can service that extra lending before you can start. However, there's no guarantee you'll get that lending if your build goes over. The bank just wants confidence to know you can service it up front.
Right, okay, so the build started. We've got a 15% contingency in place. There's a £2,000 extra cost or a 20 grand extra cost. What's the process to get the hands on it?
Oh, and for most banks it is going through an updated application and proving you can service that new lending at the time that you need it. So some banks will be a bit more negotiable on this, but generally it is full application. We obtain more information from the clients and apply for that extra $2,000. Ideally, we only want to do that once through the course of a build, or try and simplify the process as much as possible. Some recent clients I had who had some variations or escalations on their build, we actually got them to wait for a short period of time and identify if there was any other changes to their builds, build costs, which there were. We then applied in one go to the bank and got them approved for the extra funding to get them completed.
Right.